Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama. This is Ghost Talk with 187 PI. Sit back and prepare yourselves for an adventure into the paranormal world with host Shelley Robertson and 187 PI research team. Ghost Talk is broadcasting live from Ohio's most haunted jail. Learn about their ongoing research at the jail and abroad, investigation techniques, and their personal encounters. Here is your host of Ghost Talk and 187 PI founder, Shelley Robertson.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Ghost Talk Radio. With me as your host, Shelley Robertson. Ghost Talk Radio broadcasts live out of the old Paulding Jail located in Paulding, Ohio. And as a matter of fact, it's one of the most haunted jails in the state of Ohio. Okay, folks, I had taken the whole holiday season off from Christmas clear until now. And so it's really good to be back. And tonight I have a really fascinating show planned for you. And it's something that we should all think about and kind of keep in mind going forward with the new year. You know, even though we are at the end of January now, it's still the beginning of the year. And that is, I'll be talking about karma, destiny, and free will. I would like to invite all my listening friends out there to join me in chat at WBHM-DB.com. That's where you can ask me any questions or join in on the conversation. And we can, if you have some, input on karma or free will or destiny, hey, let's share it with the world. Now, karma, free will, and destiny, that is such a fascinating topic. And believe it or not, they all tie in together at some point or another, okay? Exactly what is karma? I know some people think they know, think they've experienced it or wish it on others. Many of us will classify this social, law of cause and effect as karma. Social law of cause and effect. Very few of us actually understand the true meaning of the ancient word, right? Karma is a key component of various religions, including Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Jainism. And karma actually means action and intent. And intent is a very important part of this, right? Karma, meaning action or work or deed, it also refers to a spiritual principle of cause and effect, where intent and actions of an individual, the intent and the action, that is the cause, folks, influence the future of that individual, which is the effect, right? Good intent and good deeds contribute to good karma, while bad intent and bad deeds contribute to bad karma. That seems pretty easy, right? Well, it also refers to a conceptual principle that originated in India. That's where this karma thing originated. It's often called the principle of karma, sometimes as it's also called karma theory or the law of karma. In the context of theory, karma is complex and it's difficult to define. Different schools of ideologists, they derive different definitions for the karma concept, and that results from ancient Indian texts, right? Their definition is some combinations of casualty that may be ethical or non-ethical, and that good or bad actions have consequences along with rebirth. Rebirth, folks, that's kind of introducing something you don't think about into it, right? Now, other ideologists include in the definition of karma theory that explains the present circumstances of an individual with reference to his or her actions in the past, right? These actions may be those in a person's current life or possibly actions in past lives, also meaning the consequences may result in one's current life or a person's future life. The law of karma operates independent of any deity or any process of divine judgment. So it's kind of like the trump card, right? The second, theme common to karma theories is that it begins with the premise that every action has a consequence, of course, which will come to fruition either this or future life, and morally good acts will have positive consequences, where the bad acts will have negative results, right? An individual's present situation is thereby explained by reference to action in his present or in previous lifetimes. All right, karma is not in itself a reward and punishment, but it's the law that produces consequences. Some people may think that the theories of karma or an ethical theory. This is because the ancient scholars of India linked intent and actual action to the merit, reward, demerit, and punishments, right? A theory without ethical premise would be a pure cause relation, right? The merit or reward or demerit or punishment would also be the same regardless of a person's intent. In ethics, one's intention or one's attitude or their desire, they matter in the evaluation of one's actions. Where the outcome is unintended, right, the moral responsibility for it is less on the person, okay? So like if you've done something or you've said something or you've thought something, but whatever, it wasn't actually intentional, the moral responsibility will be less. Even though casual responsibility may be the same regardless. Like a karma theory considers not only the action, but also the person's intentions, attitude, and desires before and during the action. The karma concept encourages each person to seek and live a moral life. Well, and of course as well to avoid an immoral life. The meaning and significance of karma is thus as a building block of ethical theory, right? And, we need more ethical actions in today's world, if you ask me. Like, the third common theme of karma theories is the concept of reincarnation, folks, or the cycle of rebirths. And that's something that you don't always think about when you initially think about or talk about karma, right? Rebirth is a fundamental concept of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and The concept has been intensely debated in ancient literature of India. Now, different schools of the Indian religions, they consider the relevance of rebirth as either essential, secondary, or unnecessary fiction. So it can go either way with that. Karma is a basic concept. Rebirth is a derivative concept. While reincarnation is a hypothesis, in contrast, it is believed that the rebirth is a necessary corollary of karma. Like, it needs to be there, right? Rebirth is this concept that all life forms go through a cycle of reincarnation. That is a series of births and rebirths. The rebirth and consequent life may be in a different realm, maybe in a different condition, or even a different form. The karma theory suggests that the realm, condition, and the form depends on the quality and quantity of karma. And some of the schools that teach this, they believe in rebirth, and they believe that every living being's soul recycles after death, carrying the seeds of karmic impulses from the life that they just completed, right? And they carry this into another life and a lifetime of karmas. This cycle continues indefinitely, except for those who consciously break this cycle by reaching moksha. Now, you're like, okay, so what is moksha? Well, moksha is a concept of ultimate freedom and liberation in Indian philosophy and religion. It's the release from the life-death cycle and from the limitations of a worldly existence, right? To reach this state, it's to attain absolute freedom, peace, and oneness with the divine. Those who break the cycle, it's said that they reach the realm of gods, and those who don't, they continue this birth and rebirth, this reincarnation process. The theory and karma, the theory of karma and the rebirth, it raises numerous questions, right? Such as how, when, and why did all of these cycles start in the first place? And what is the relative karmic merit of one karma versus another? And why and what evidence is there that rebirth actually happens? Think about all of that. And among other various schools of Hinduism, they've realized these difficulties and they've debated their own formulations. And some have reached what they've considered an internally consistent theory, while some of the schools, they modified and de-emphasized it, right? While a few of the schools in Hinduism, such as the Shavakas, they've totally abandoned the karma and rebirth theory altogether. Now, the school of Buddhism, they consider karma rebirth cycle as intricate parts of their theories. Buddhism, in fact, teaches that everything that happens to us is ultimately due to our own influence, right? Whether intentional or not, and that coincidence in this reality is an illusion. Coincidences don't exist. The original historical Buddha who lived in India approximately 2,500 years ago, which is an awfully long time ago, is said to have remarked, If a person commits an act of good or evil, he himself becomes the heir to that action. This is because the action never actually disappears. In other words, the latent force of both our good and our bad actions remains in our lives. Each act remaining in the present as a potential force energy, influencing the course of one existence from the point of that action forward. So from the time that you do it, going simply forward, it doesn't go away. In this sense, rather than simply viewing karma as action, it may be more appropriate to think of it as action plus the action's potential influence on one's life. In other words, all the effects in your life, what happens to you, are without exception determined by causes you yourself have made in the past. Causes, which are defined as your thoughts, your words, and your deeds, right? Buddhism, however, takes this principle of general causality even farther. It denotes the principles of cause and effect as a universal law that governs not just the physical universe, but our own lives as well. Essentially, it works like this. Everything we say, everything we do, and everything we think, it serves as a cause that will sometime in the future, when the circumstances are just right, manifest an effect. In one sense, this seems obvious. If you get angry, which would be a cause, you might get punched, which would be an effect. We wouldn't necessarily like that effect, but that could be the effect. But Buddhism takes this even further, arguing that all causes we make are recorded at some level in our lives as if they were transactions in a bank. Making good causes would be like depositing money that can be withdrawn at some point in the future, while making a bad cause would be like borrowing money that at some point in the future will have to be repaid. So, if, for example, you slander somebody today or something, that might result in them slandering you tomorrow if they hear about it, of course. Or it might result in you twisting an ankle, breaking an arm, right? In Buddhism, we're responsible for every effect, not just what happens to us, but even the experience of emotions like anxiety and depression. Everything that occurs in our lives. Create a good cause, and you enjoy a good effect. Create a bad cause, and you suffer a bad effect. Now, if we accept the possibility that we ourselves have made all the causes for all the effects we currently experience in our lives, would that mean that somebody that gets bullied at school, like a child gets bullied at school, or maybe like, a woman suffers abuse from her husband or boyfriend, is she to blame for it? Is the child to blame for it? Do they deserve it? Well, from the Buddhist perspective, we are indeed responsible, but importantly, not to blame. For every effect we experience, blame only occurs, and it accrues, and it adds up, only if we intend to yield a particular effect at the moment we made the cause for it, right? Now, the law of cause and effect, it's pretty impartial. It's impersonal, and it's strict. Just like the law of gravity, folks, requiring no higher power to make it run. It explains how bad things can happen to good people, and Everyone has made bad causes in the past, and each cause carries with an effect that must at some point be experienced in the future. It also, most importantly, places the power to change our destiny firmly in our own hands. We can continually make better causes in the present that lead to better effects in the future. And with that, folks, we'll be back after this short break. You are listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM-DB.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Several U.S. presidents are on record talking about the UFO mystery.
Yeah, Presidents Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan both had UFO sightings of their own, but the current presidential campaign might be the first in which UFO disclosure has been championed by a major party candidate.
DIA, CIA, it moves around, is operating a program to train psychic spies to spy and use their powers against Russia. John Ronson writes about this in The Men Who Stare at Goats.
The first known sighting of a ghost took place right after Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in the late 1860s during the administration of Ulysses Grant.
Project Paperclip, Clinton releases it all in 1998.
Possibly the unequal cooling of its surface.
I say, do you still think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial.
It's a place where UFO hunters and scientists gather to examine paranormal activity in the region.
Some of the documents, this is bringing Nazi scientists into the United States to work here. So we fought against the Nazis, and it's not, this again is not a revelation. As early as 1947, 1946, we knew some of this, right?
On the paranormal, will we see U.S. President Barack Obama's foreign policy go intergalactic in a quest for gold stolen by aliens? We'll tell you at least how the White House responded to claims the chief executive has been teleporting to Mars. But let's get to today's Capitol account.
UFOs, hauntings, psychic abilities, conspiracy, ESP, cryptozoology. There are many things that remain unexplained in the inexplicable world around us, and we're talking about them here, looking for answers on WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama. The truth is out there.
Thank you for listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. The time is 23 minutes after the hour.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelley Robertson. And before the break, of course, I was talking about karma, and specifically I was talking about Buddhism, the karma in the Buddhism, spiritual religion. And if you missed the first part of the show, no worries. You can catch the full show archive on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, and iHeartRadio at your leisure. And I'd like to invite you all to chat at WBHM-DB.com, where you can ask me any questions or, add to some show content here. And we talked about karma in Buddhism. Now, in different religions, they have a little bit of different ways in which they view karma. Like, for an example, in Taoism, karma, of course, is an important concept. And it's a little different from Buddhism in a way that every deed is tracked by deities and spirits, and the appropriate rewards or retributions, they follow karma. Just like, your shadow follows you, right? The karma doctrine of Taoism, it's developed in 3 different stages, okay? The first stage is causality before, brain fart there for a minute. It's between the action and consequences, of course, just like in Buddhism. And it was also with the supernatural beings keeping track of everyone's karma and assigning their fate from those actions, right? In the second phase, transferability of karma, that idea was adopted from Chinese Buddhism, right? And that is like the transfer or the inheritance of karmic fate from ancestors, right, to one's current life. All right, so you could take on the karma from your ancestors, and I don't know if I'd want that to happen to me or not. I don't know. In the third stage of the karma doctrine in Taoism, the ideas of rebirth based on karma were added, okay, to this also. And one could be reborn either as another human being or as an animal. And I think that would be just crazy. Like, I could come back to a nice, fluffy, furry kitten. I don't know. That's, either or. That was added to that. And according to this, belief, additional ideas were introduced. For example, rituals, repentance, and offerings at the Taoist temples were encouraged, as it could alleviate some of your karmic burden, right? So you could basically get some forgiveness for some of that. Now, another interesting spiritual practice is Falun Gong. And Falun Gong is a Chinese religious practice, and it combines meditation and exercise with a moral philosophy centered on the tenets of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Now, the practice emphasizes morality and the cultivation of virtue. And practitioners of Falun Gong, they aspire to eliminate attachments and ultimately to achieve spiritual enlightenment, right? Falun Gong differs a little bit from Buddhism in its definition of the term karma, in that it's not a process of award and punishment, but as an exclusive negative term, right? The Chinese term of virtue is reversed for what might be termed the good karma in Buddhism. And karma is understood as the source of all suffering, what Buddhism might refer to as bad karma, right? Now, a person has done bad things over as many lifetimes, and for people, this results in misfortune, obviously. And for cultivators, it is karmic obstacles. So there's birth, there's aging, there's sickness, and there's death. And this is the ordinary karma, right? Falun Gong teaches that the spirit is locked in the cycle of rebirth due to the accumulation of karma. This is negative, black substance that accumulates in other dimensions lifetime after lifetime by doing bad deeds and thinking bad thoughts. Falun Gong states that karma is the reason for suffering and also what ultimately blocks people from the truth of the universe, and it blocks them from attaining enlightenment. At the same time, karma is also the cause of one's continued rebirth and suffering, and due to the accumulation of karma, the human spirit upon death will reincarnate over and over and over again until either the karma is paid off or it's eliminated through cultivation, or the person is destroyed due to the bad deeds he's done. So that even goes a little further. You could be destroyed from too many bad deeds. Now, the concept of karma is a cornerstone to individual moral behavior in Falun Gong. And also, it's readily traceable to the Christian doctrine of one reaps what one sows, right? That's in Matthew 5:44, and it means no unbeliever will fully reap what they sow until they are judged by God after death in hell. Now, Falun Gong is differentiated by a system of transmigration in which each organism is the reincarnation of a previous life form, its current form having been determined by karmic calculation of the moral qualities of the previous lives lived, right? Karma is identified as the black substance which it must be purged in the process of cultivation. So, Falun Gong's example of cultivation is like, here's an example. Let's say you get sick, right? And let's say you take some medicine because you're ill. Well, under Falun Gong, if you take medicine because you're ill, you are missing an opportunity to work off karma by allowing an illness to run its course, right? Suffering, according to that, depletes your karma. So, essentially, you would be fighting the illness through cultivation. Now, since one belief is that karma is a primary factor that causes sickness in people, because that's what they believe. Every time you get sick, that's a karma thing. But they also state, that if you get sick, normal, regular people do need to take medications. However, students of Falun Gong say it's an individual choice whether people take the medication or not, right? Now, there's other things, too, that fall into this karma. And what I'm going to talk about now is, I'm sure you've dealt with it. You've seen something of it. You've experienced it. Maybe not you yourself. Maybe some of you, you yourself. And that is ego, right? Ego structures are a mechanism through which karma operates in two ways. Ego structures are the cause of our bad karma. They are responsible for the bad behavior that generates bad karma, right? Ego structures are the mechanism through which we experience the effect or the consequences of our bad karma. Our unnecessary suffering is the result of our ego structures getting triggered. Now, suffering that results from ego structure is unnecessary suffering, all right? Because it's not directly related to the self's evolution, right? The self may choose to experience suffering in order to grow and evolve. This is necessary. This is not karma. The self's chosen path through life is the optimum path for the development of our consciousness, right? It's fast, it's direct, taking us only to the places we need to go. And provided we learn from our experiences, we don't need to go there again. It involves only the pain that is necessary for our growth. No more and no less, folks. The ego's path through life is slow, indirect, and repetitive. It results in a lot of unnecessary suffering that we bring upon ourselves as a consequence of choosing the ego's path. Now, there's a great definition of karma, right? The suffering that we bring upon ourselves as a consequence of choosing the ego's path. So, I guess instead of being egotistical, maybe we should be a little more humble. So, what I've done, I've went over a few different principles and spiritual practices and belief systems of karma. And is this something that is real? I do believe that there is a cause and effect. This is absolutely true. And the phrase that like attracts like, that sums up the law of attraction, right? Our minds are like magnets, folks, and we attract whatever we give our continued attention to. Think about it. Have you ever went somewhere or you've been talking to somebody and somebody's in a bad mood and they're ranting and raving about something, and what happens? You're in a group of friends or something, the whole group starts doing it. It attracts the same thing, and everything that comes into our lives, it's attracted by thoughts and images we hold in our minds. Our thoughts influence our lives. So whatever we think about most will eventually manifest, right? It doesn't matter whether our thoughts are positive, negative, or neutral. The law of attraction operates blindly and it will respond to them. It will absolutely respond to them. And the law of attraction, of course, can be strengthened, it can be weakened, or it can be postponed by the laws of karma and destiny. Do I believe that what you put out eventually comes back to you in return? To some degree, I do believe that. I do believe that negativity draws negativity, and it draws negative outcomes and circumstances to your life, right? On the same token, I also believe that, positive thoughts and being positive, it draws and brings positive outcomes and circumstances to your life. I've seen so many times on social media, and it doesn't matter what platform you're using, just go to any social media. Not only have I seen it, I've also heard lots of people talking about, maybe they were wronged in one way or another, or somebody did something to them, or what have you. They had a bad experience. And in the next sentence, they go on to say something like, I can't wait until karma catches up with them and bites them in the butt, right? I know you've all seen this. Heck, maybe you've even said it yourself, right? Well, think about this for a moment. Those persons who have been wronged have absolutely given no thought to the possibility that they have indeed been served a dose of karma themselves. This is actually something that everyone must think about. If something bad happens to you, it is essentially the effect of something you thought or said or did at some previous point in time. Karma is self-balancing. It is divine justice. It's 100% fair and absolutely infallible. It doesn't matter if a criminal seems to get away with it, because there's no getting away with it, folks. Karma will eventually catch up with the criminal if we are honest with ourselves. Honest. Wanting justice is just a nice way of saying that we want revenge. If we suffer as a result of someone else's wrongdoing, we want them to suffer in return. But we need to learn that vengeance is not the same as justice, and that an act of vengeance will result in bad karma for ourselves, right? Even holding on to vindictive thoughts, self-pity, or grief prolongs our own suffering and generates more bad karma. If something unpleasant happens to us, we should realize that we caused it, not the person who was instrumental in it. And with that, folks, we'll be right back after this short break. You are listening to Ghost Talk Radio on WBHM-DB.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... Nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back to Ghost Talk Radio with me as your host, Shelly Robertson. And if you're just joining me and you missed the first part of the show, have no worries. You can listen to the full show archive on Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, and iHeartRadio at your leisure. You can also pop in and say hi to me in person in our interactive chat room at WBHM-DB.com. So before the break, we're talking about the different karmas, right? And what I want to talk a little bit about now is, let's talk about how, karma and destiny intermingle, right? We talked about what karma was and went through some of the different spiritual aspects, the different religious aspects of it. So what is destiny? Everybody's talks about, well, I'm destined for this or whatever. Well, destiny, of course, sometimes is referred to as fate. It is a predetermined course of events, right? It may be conceived as a predetermined future, whether in general or predetermined, future of an individual. Although often used interchangeably, destiny and fate, they have different connotations. They are different. And I think maybe not everybody realizes that they are different and separate, right? Fate is about the present, where every decision an individual has made has led them to their present scenario. Fate is usually a set in stone kind of thing, and it often has negative connotations. Like an example, the jury decided his fate. Fate is an agent that predetermines and orders the course of events. It means that events are meant to be and are set in motion by an external force or an intelligence, right? Now, on the other hand, destiny is the future scenario that is determined by decisions an individual will make. Destiny is more of a likely outcome and often has a positive feel. Like, for an example, this person is destined to be a star, okay? Destiny guides us towards a specific goal, but without our will for participation, we will not achieve our destiny. You have to participate, right? Our destiny is not the product of our past. Our past actions do not propel us into the future. Our past actions hold us back and impede our development, right? It is the potential energy of what we have chosen, our intent, that creates our destiny and leads us through life. Our choices, let's say for a better example here, they create a vacuum in front of us that pulls us along our chosen life path. It is in this void of pure potential, potentiality, that our life unfolds. We've already chosen our destiny prior to the present moment. So now we must let go and allow it to manifest in the eternal present moment. We have to engage with life in the present moment to ensure that we don't miss opportunities for growth, right? Our past actions and our old limiting beliefs, they prevent us from achieving our full potential. Now, the parts of us that are stuck in the past, which could be exiles and ego structures, right? They are the resistance that hinders our development. In order to move forward freely, we need to heal the parts of us that is holding us back, right? Simply put here, that, destiny is opportunity and fate is karma. We are in control of our destiny, but we have no control over our fate. Destiny cannot be forced on us. If we are forced there, it becomes our fate. Destiny gives us an opportunity to turn a situation to our advantage. and accomplish something great through our own efforts. It is designed to give us the best opportunities for the development of our consciousness. But it is only an outline. It's not an exact script, folks. It doesn't detract from our free will in any way. Now, it's because we decide exactly how we want to act in any given situation. Karma describes that the actions performed in the past affects the state in the present, and similarly, the actions performed in the present will affect future states. Destiny is related to future events which are considered to be inevitable and unalterable. The notion of karma considers that the actions of a person in his past shapes the destiny of that person. Now, we all occasionally make what appears to be bad decisions, but if we learn from those seemingly wrong decisions, we eventually discover that they were in fact, and I know I've had this happen, they were in fact the right decisions. If we deviate our life's plan, we may need to be coaxed back onto the right track. And the further we stray from the optimal path, the harder the lessons get. Sometimes you just have to get a real big smack in the face before you realize, hold on, what am I doing? Right? Every choice we make affects our future and therefore our destiny. Right now, we are experiencing the destiny and the karma that arose from the choices we made in the past. And some of them choices I forget. I'm just saying. Now, we're going to add some free will to this, right? And so things get a little more crazy. And free will is our capacity to make decisions in life and express our desires to the universe, right? Your free will. While you can't specifically control your exact karma is merely cause and effect, you can choose your free will to steer the outcome of what happens to you in life. After all, life is not about what happens to you, but it's how you choose to respond to what happens. Our approach to life can influence our destiny, but we cannot directly control what life sends our way, right? We just decide how we're going to respond to it. This is where our free will comes into play. But just how much free will do we really have if we live most of our life on autopilot? Will is not free if it is bound by the effects of our conditioned behaviors, right? Will is only free if we have sufficient conscious awareness to use it in a considered manner. Without conscious awareness, we cannot respond. We can only react. Will is an essential quality of the soul, folks. It's the quality of our soul. If that quality is ego identified, right? We'll not have access to our essential will. We will only have access to the ego's mentally constructed version of will, or what you might call false will. False will is rigid and stubborn and is better suited to resistance than positive action. False will is based upon the ego's fears, and it's also on its coping strategies, which often are in conflict with life or universal will. We can consciously, exert our will to work with the natural flow of life, or we can consciously exert our will to resist the natural flow of life, or we can do nothing at all, right? The development of consciousness, it requires awareness and it requires action. Getting the balance right requires continuous awareness of the subtle changes in life's currents. When we become attuned to life and actively engage with it, our lives open up with a sense of flow, with a sense of ease, with a sense of grace. Grace occurs when we allow life to naturally unfold within us and flow through us without any resistance. Will is not a force to be exerted upon the world. There is no outwards expression of true will or trying to make things happen. True will is the firm yet flexible ground on which our true being stands. It is a form that, is an unshakable core that our intention flows through. It's a full alignment with life. Intentions is it's consciously committing to how we're going to live our lives. Every morning, we can simply state our intention to evolve psychologically, spiritually, creatively, intuitively, peacefully into an awakened and enlightened being. Once our intention has been set, folks, we must drop any agenda about how or when it will occur. You just let it happen, right? If you learn from your life experiences, even and especially the difficult ones, letting them mold you in accordance with your life's purpose and what's in your heart, you'll learn to use free will as the most powerful gift that life has to offer. It takes courage and faith and gratitude to do this. And through perseverance, always believe in yourself, right? Moving towards destiny takes a lot of hard work, accountability, discipline, and integrity. But let me tell you, the rewards are beyond measure. Life really is up to what you make of it. It's up to you, So choose your thoughts, choose your words and actions wisely. Make the universe a better place. And with that, folks, I want to tell you what's coming up on our WBHM-DB station on Sunday nights from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Catch the show Fate Radio with host Kat Hobson. She has some fantastic guests and super great topics. You won't want to miss that. Also on Monday nights, we have the Paranormal Pride Radio Show with Denise Pride Moore as your host, and that airs from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. She's got some wonderful guests and great information on her show. You'll want to tune into that also. And I want to take a moment to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen to this live broadcast tonight. I hope everyone has a fabulous evening and a great weekend. Good night, everyone.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Cat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? Well, you see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watched a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step, after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page, is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics, from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of, a bit strange and unexplained. It is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.